Welcome to Quack&Co, the channel where every video is 10 minutes or less. My name is Tony Vicinda, and I am back again from Plus One EXP for another week-long takeover here on Quack&Co. I want to talk to you today about something that I think about a lot. It's a super nerdy concept, but it's the difference between play and a game. The fact that we play games, but playing and a game are not the same thing, and they can exist in a lot of different contexts. And why do I spend too much time thinking about this? I don't know. There's something broken inside me that's just constantly fascinated by the human tendency towards play, towards joy. It's something I think about a lot, that I spend way too much time fixated on. And it's the reason that I do the work that I do, helping people explore and find new indie RPGs and publishing indie RPGs over through Plus One EXP. But even if you're playing board games, even if you're playing tag, whatever you're doing, the relationship between play and game exists, and it's not always the same thing, because you can play with a toy, but a toy is not always a game, though a game is a type of toy. See where I'm going here? This is nerdy, this is deep, this is big brain stuff for a Monday Musing. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the differences between play and game in the board game sphere and play and game in the RPG sphere, because they are different than each other. And I think in some ways it oftentimes helps identify the difference in people who play board games but don't like RPGs and people who play both or play RPGs but not board games. And that's that if you are looking for a board game to play, you are looking for the game. You're looking for the physical packaging that will have all the rules in it, that will have all the mechanics in it, that will have all of the different elements, the miniatures, the pieces, the boards, the cards, everything you need to play, and you'll call that the game, right? That box, the item that you're holding, whether it's a heavyweight Euro game or a light card game, is going to have the components you need. It's going to have everything that makes it the game. And then you are going to find some friends, or if it's a solo game, sit down, set aside some time, set up the game, and then you're going to play the game. The game is going to be the thing that creates the space in which you can play. It is the parameters, the boundaries. It is the thing itself, and play is what you do with it. RPGs are different. When I take an RPG like Down We Go, right? This is something that we might call a game, but the reality is it's not something that's creating boundaries, it's something that's creating possibilities. Yes, it's establishing limitations, it's creating mechanics, but the reality is, and this is a critique that some people have for RPGs, the game does not exist until you start to play it. I cannot hand you the game. I can hand you the book. If I handed you a rule book for a board game and said, play this game, you would say, I need all the other pieces. If I hand you the rule book for a role-playing game, you then can go play it. You might need dice or a few other items, but with the book itself, you can play the game, and that's a substantive difference. In a lot of ways, for role-playing games, play is the thing we do to make the game. The game is the residue that's left over from the act of playing itself. Now, for a long time, I was a youth worker. I worked with teenagers and adults. I did team building, low ropes, high ropes, trust fall type stuff. And the reality is, those types of pro-social gaming, the type of gaming that helps build community, that helps build internal assets, that helps streamline communication, they exist in a completely different space than either of these. The game is whatever we make of it. The rules as I verbally present them to you, the limitations we mentally place on ourselves or that are placed externally by the person who's kind of facilitating the game, change the play state, but the game itself exists in a completely abstracted reality. There are no hard rules, and as a matter of fact, in those games, rules manipulation and social games and low ropes, rules manipulation is actually a normal thing to do. Hey, they said the rules this way. That means we can do this, but can't do that. Board games that were written that way would be poorly written rules. Or if somebody tried to manipulate the rules that way, we would probably accuse them of cheating. In role-playing games, we would say, hey, maybe we just want to play that way, maybe we don't. Maybe we're going to homebrew it. But it wouldn't necessarily be the expectation unless there was a problem. In that social game, in that conversational state of play, in that flexible state of game that happens out on a retreat or another event, you don't have an expectation that you're homebrewing when that happens. The manipulation of the rules is a way that you play those games to figure out how to solve problems or how to move through an objective. These three ways of playing, these three types of playing, are all very different, and they each create a different relationship with what a game is. And it's, again, something that I find myself consistently going back to, because here is what is true no matter what for all of these things, right? Play is a thing that we do to delight ourselves. Games are an essential part of how we do certain types of play. When we transition from play to a game and back and forth can mean a lot of different things. None are more or less valid than another type. They are simply different. And as somebody who goes back and forth between board games and RPGs and social games on a regular basis, I'm always captivated by perfect moments of play. A game may be elegantly designed. A concept for a low rope may be really creative. A role-playing game may create amazing platforms for storytelling. I can be in awe of any of the ideas of them, but I get most excited in the moment of play, when we simply let the rules or the concepts that we've learned that have created the foundation for this start to fall away, and we simply experience joy. And here's why I think this is important and why I wanted to share it with everybody, is I think sometimes we can get too mired down in what is this game, right? And not about saying, hey, we need to know the rules, because you do need to know the rules to have the experience you want, regardless of which of these settings you're playing in. But if we come to only focus on the rules, we start to miss the beautiful moments of play, the randomness of how dice and cards and player decisions come together to create a moment where all of a sudden my fortunes are reversed and my point total surges ahead, or the other way around where somebody all of a sudden flips things on me, or collaboratively where we all thought we were going to lose and all of a sudden we're winning. These are things that happen in board games at any point in time. In RPGs, they happen all the time. They are essentially what we are aiming for when we look at RPGs. How can we look at the story, look at the narrative, look at the mechanics, and create a moment of play that transcends all of those things and makes the game? And in social settings, the ability to say, hey, we were just playing a game a little bit ago. It was fun. We were competing. And all of a sudden, we've made a human connection that we didn't expect through this simple act of playing a game together. Again, these are things that I spend a lot of time reflecting on, thinking about. And it's just something that I wanted to share with you also. So the next time you find yourself mired down in the mechanics of a game, I invite you to step back and just be in wonder and just be in awe at the state of play, at the moment that you're engaging in around the table with people you enjoy and what's unfolding as you experience that. This has been Quack&Co with Tony Vicinda from Plus One EXP. We've taken over this week. And remember, less time listening means more time playing.